you all. Welcome to this news hour on Equinoxe television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Babla Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, 38 young persons arrested in connection to drug consumption in Kumba in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, and the senior division officer of the Meme division says he is at war against the illegal activity. At least 1,800 persons died of cholera in neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria. More than 20 states have been affected by the cholera outbreak, and the battle to get Africa's 5 representatives at the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 started today. Details up next. The senior divisional officer of the Meme division, southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, says he must put an end to drug consumption in his area of command. At least 38 young persons have been arrested in connection to illegal drug consumption, as we hear in this report compiled by Fomi Armstrong Sander.
Among the 38 young suspected drug consumers are a pastor and a young lady. They were nabbed from their hideout by security officials in Fiango, Kumba 2 subdivision of the Meme division, southwest region of Cameroon. Security officials say they were seen consuming hard drugs of different types at the time of their arrest within an operation against drug trafficking and consumption. At the senior divisional office for Meme, the suspects are presented to the senior divisional officer Ntundon Chamberlain.
So all those who are smoking banger, I am going to fight them. You cannot construct this country with the youth concentrated on banger. Banger is what?
Administrative and municipal officials are worried at the growing rates of drug consumption in Kumba. As part of multiple efforts to fight the social ill, the district medical officer for Kumba, Dr. Lefanda Emmanuel, disclosed that a free mental health and disintoxication program is open for affected young people at all major health units in Kumba. The objective of the joint action, according to Edwin Guana, divisional officer for Kumba 2 subdivision, is to get concerned youth properly reintegrated into the society.
In a similar story, a gang of suspected criminals allegedly involved in stealing of vehicles and illegal drug trafficking have been arrested or has been dismantled in the Douala 3 and 5 subdivisions. These suspects were arrested by elements of the 17th District Police Station. Details in this report by Immaculate Fogwe.
Inhabitants of the Peka 14 neighborhood right up to Peka 21 within the past months have been victims of aggressions, according to residents of these localities in the Douala 3 and Douala 5 subdivisions respectively. The rise in crime wave is as a result of the continuous consumption of illicit drugs such as cannabis by youths. The shop of a pastor was burgled by some persons. Several phones were stolen in that operation. Lots of youths in this area are into drugs, and that is what is destroying. After multiple complaints sent to administrative authorities on the security situation of the different neighborhoods, elements of the 17th District Police Station launched an operation. The patrol led to the arrest of suspected car thieves in the area. They equally dismantled a network of persons specialized in the falsification of car documents and license plates.
We caught a group of thieves who are specialists in stealing vehicles. We caught them at Cour Supreme, Makepe, and the vehicle we impound them. Those vehicles are actually at our base. Carina E, 2 Carina E vehicles.
Another gang made up of drug traffickers were equally discovered and later arrested in the Peka Disuit neighborhood. The network had in possession a pistol, a Dane gun, a motorcycle, and sachets of cannabis.
We caught some drug traffickers who are specialists in using children to do the sales of the drugs. They are under our custody.
The suspects are currently being detained at the 17th District Police Station in Douala.
Some parents in Lum in the Mongo Division, littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon, raise concerns over what they consider as the failure of government in the educational sector of the country. They are expressing worries about the point that many of the schools, government schools in their locality, has been abandoned in the hands of the Parent Teachers Association, thus the poor learning conditions in some of the schools. Details with Charles Ekome.
Parents in Lum in the Mungu division of the littoral region say they are yet to come to terms with the manner in which the Parent Teachers Association functions. They say responsibilities given to them by the PTA is cumbersome. Furthermore, they blame the government to have abdicated its duties in the education sector.
C'est l'État qui surcharge les parents. Là, c'est l'État qui surcharge les parents parce que si l'État faisait tout, on n'aurait pas parlé de l'APE. Et ça pèse sur les parents.
On constate que l'État a démissionné de ses devoirs. Bon, les parents d'élèves paient les frais exigibles par l'État et c'est suffisant. L'État doit faire le reste, c'est-à-dire payer les enseignants, construire les infrastructures et toute autre chose.
Some of these parents also say they are disappointed in the system, given that new taxes are being adopted by the PTA every year.
Il y a une taxe qu'on appelle taxe de salubrité dans les établissements scolaires aujourd'hui, les cleaning schools. Déjà, nous supportons les APE et voilà encore une autre taxe supplémentaire qui s'ajoute. Finalement, nous les parents, on ne sait à quel sens se vouer aujourd'hui. Donc, nous sommes un peu déçus dans ce sens.
Qui a construit le lycée de Lum? À ce que je sache, l'État du Cameroun a fait 4 salles de classe au lycée de Lum. Les 2 premières et les 2 dernières. Nous avons environ 40 salles de classe.
On the other hand, an educationist at the government bilingual high school Lum says otherwise.
Nous, au lycée de Lum, nous sommes toujours dans la légalité. Les frais d'APE sont adoptés par l'Assemblée générale des parents. Au regard des besoins exprimés par le chef d'établissement, une fois les besoins donc chiffrés et validés par le conseil d'établissement, on soumet donc à l'Assemblée générale des parents.
Comment reporting there. Now, still in the domain of education, we now talk about the Patrick Foundation Anglo-Saxon School, which is one of the outstanding academic institutions, not only in Douala, the littoral, but the Republic of Cameroon as a whole. Glory Mala reports.
High standard and expectations for all students, and optimal learning environment.
I chose to come to Pafas because it has a good, the teaching staff is good. The teaching staff is good, and there's good equipment in the school, and they've had a really good reputation for.
Patrick Foundation Anglo-Saxon School is a place of reference with a nursery, primary, secondary and high school located at the main entrance of Antreb Matangu, the Grananga neighborhood of Bonaberi, Douala 4 subdivision. Frequent monitoring of learning and teaching by qualified teachers can only lead to high results. Only 4 years of existence, the school has been outstanding in its performance.
This GCE session, we had 100% in the ordinary level and 90.43 at the advanced level. Last year it was 100% in all the sections. And I think that parents will not regret to be here.
A purely Anglo-Saxon culture is what the school offers to its students. Spacious classroom with limited students, permitting the instructors and the students to better collaborate. Patrick Foundation Anglo-Saxon School has a clinic as a first aid to its students.
The clinic is there to take care of emergency needs.
PAFAS offers general education with a well-equipped modern science laboratory for the science students, commercial education, and now a technical industrial education in electricity, motor mechanics, sheet metal, building construction, and dressmaking.
The CBA that recently came up, that was introduced by the Ministry of Secondary Education, we implement it here very rigorously, and we frequently invite regional pedagogic inspectors to come inspect the teachers, work in hand with the head of departments to make sure that not only the syllabus is covered, not only the scheme is well followed up, but it is followed up at the pace where the students and the candidates will assimilate well.
Facilities such as available school bus, laboratory, dormitory, and a computer lab connected to the internet. Parents can only choose PAFAS for their children.
Said this school is a nice school. I've never been here, but she said this school is a nice school. So now I had to register my children there. The first one had the A level last year, so the junior one now is in Form 5 and the other one in Form 4. So the junior one will be writing next year, and I hope with the good results and with the good teachers, I know she will make it.
Patrick Foundation Anglo-Saxon has high standard values such as professionalism, affordability, and they are God-fearing as they keep God first.
In news out of Cameroon, Nigerian health officials have said close to 1,800 people have died from cholera this year. Cases have been found in more than 20 states around the country. To combat the bacterial disease, Nigeria's Federal Ministry of Environment is urging proper hygiene and organizing mass cleanups in affected areas. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, is leading, exacerbated by poor access to clean water, open air defecation, poor sanitation and hygiene, especially in camps of displaced persons following an increase of cholera cases in the country. The National Cholera Emergency Operations Center was activated in June this year. It has led the deployment of rapid response teams to support the most affected states: Benue, Kano, Kaduna, Zamfara, Bauchi and Plateau states. However, medical experts say the long-term solution to control the waterborne disease lies in access to safe drinking water, maintenance of proper sanitation and hygiene. And in sports, the battle to get Africa's 5 representatives at the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 started today. The matches in the second round preliminary will determine the 10 teams that will play at the final round of the qualifiers to get Africa's representatives. Smanjikan Gebre has the details.
After abusive few months of international football, from continental championships to the battle for Olympic gold, the focus turned back to the FIFA World Cup qualifiers. In Africa, some 40 teams will be battling it out in 10 groups, with only the section winners advancing to the third and final round, where they will be drawn into 5 two-legged tied games, with winners representing Africa at the Qatar 2022 World Cup Soccer Jamboree. The match that will pull attention will be coming up on 6th September in Abidjan. Ivory Coast will be hosting Cameroon in a game that will go a long way of deciding Group D leaders. The two heavyweights clashed memorably in the qualifiers of Germany 2006. Cameroon won in Ivory Coast on that occasion, only for them to miss an injury time penalty in a 1-1 draw with Egypt.
Пьеро Лома, защитник сборной Камеруна.
Штанга и мяч улетает на угловой. A result that allowed the Elephants to peep them to a place in the World Cup finals. 13 African sides have appeared at the World Cup between France 1998 and Russia 2018 out of a total of 54 countries in the continent. Egypt, Morocco, Democratic Republic of Congo, which was former Zaire, Tunisia, Algeria, Cameroon, Nigeria, South Africa, Senegal, Angola, Ivory Coast, Togo, and Ghana.
That's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. Today we are receiving a teacher and a civil society activist. Ndewume Emmanuel, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Mr. Babila, and thanks to the million viewers of Equinoxe TV. Permit me just 1 minute to greet one woman who have decided to touch the lives of our little ones running from northwest to southwest, Madame Lekane Beatrice, who is the coordinator of Mama Fosa Foundation in Logbesu. Without publicity, she has been doing it on the ground.
They are in need of aid. Those children, young persons forced out of their homes by violence in those two regions and are now seeking refuge. Many of them in very deplorable conditions here in the littoral, in the west, in the center and other parts of the country, and some who are even refugees in neighboring Nigeria. Let us start with this issue of parents who are complaining. We heard some parents in Lum, and it is the case from other parts of the country, complaining that government has abandoned schools, notably government schools, in the hands of parent-teachers associations. And it is becoming difficult for some of the schools to be properly managed, and the learning conditions in many of the schools are quite poor, and the burden is becoming heavier on parents.
Mr. Babila Jonathan, thank you for this topic. It's a very sensitive topic. You know, in our days when we were growing up, if we have to start by the definition of the word PTA, it is Parents Teachers Association. And in the academic parlance, we have what we say communities, the educational community and the local community. It is clear that the government cannot take responsibility of all the running of the school. That is why they brought in the PTA. But that is not where my problem lies. My problem is that the PTA that was brought in, maybe to solve one or two problems that the government could not completely tackle, has been made a business venture for the different educational authorities that are found. Let me give you an example which is real, which just supports your question. If you go to GTC Motef in Fundong subdivision, that school is 9 years old with no government structure. All the structures there were built by the parents. Immediately the government took over, there has never been accountability as to where the PTA money goes to. If you go to GSS Konene in the Boop subdivision, which is in a rocky and hilly area, they have 2 classrooms that have been given by the government. If you go to GSS Ngwa in Boyo division, all the classrooms there were constructed by the parents. At that time, the hand of the government was not yet inside. Everything was running smoothly. When the government took over, until date, that school has never had more than 4 government trained teachers. They are still using PTA, which the sum that is paid to teachers there, 20,000 francs, does not measure up to what the law says about basic salary in Cameroon, which means that far below. Now, if you go to Sodikombo in Douala 5, I know of a woman who was posted there as a pioneer headmistress. Do you know that in the heart of Douala, where I'm talking in Sodikombo, that school was operated in a rented apartment, Mr. Babila, for many years, and parents were paying PTA. Now, this is to confirm to you that.
And when we go up north,
when you go up north, you see
critical.
Learners are under the trees. People are learning under the trees. You see that in Cameroon, we have only the decrees that create schools, but we don't have the decrees that build structures. In Cameroon, we believe that we have public schools, but these public schools, in essence, are community schools that are being given subventions by the government. I stand to be corrected. So we can say authoritatively that, like any other country that wants to kill the future of its citizens, it begins from the educational domain, and Cameroon is doing excellently in this domain to kill the educational sector, because nothing explains the fact that we are in a country where a minister embezzles 25 million alone, but children are not able to have a classroom. Babila, before I give you back the microphone, all this PTA, you discover that it is not even fixed. It is the sum is indefinite, because each principal decides the sum that is paid in his or her school. To a greater extent,
we are coming to that, and we are talking about this issue at a point in time when the country is engaged in the move towards emergence by 2035, and the educational sector is a very strategic sector as far as that emergence is concerned. And when education is in this state, in this kind of suffering state,
yes, when education,
the learners who are supposed to build a nation, who are supposed to take the nation to that emergence, and even at the university level, there are lots of problems on the educational sector, the teaching, the lessons that have been administered there.
I am very sure that one philosopher made it clear: when the mind is disturbed, no lesson is passed across. Socrates. And indeed, what you are saying, it is very disturbing. That is why you discover that many parents, even managing parents like some of us, choose to sacrifice and send our children to the private schools, because in the private schools, the proprietors have taken the pains to build good schools, though exploiting teachers and parents. But
and even there, an education is a university done. Professor Julius Ngo says if Cameroon must get to that emergence, private schools have to be given the same opportunities like government schools.
For sure, that is how it is done in Ghana and other countries. It is done in Ghana and other countries. And I think Cameroon needs to start copying good examples and not only bad examples. When you keep talking about emergence, we are moving towards submergence, not emergence. Cameroon is going through divergent achievement. There is nothing at the time that is working, because if education is not working, nothing is working in that country. We are molding which type of mind. Then I have a worry, because even this year they have made it compulsory that the PTA must be paid, and I ask myself, those who are in Northwest and Southwest, who barely feed once a day, with a few schools that we are managing, that schools should return there, because some of us are working on the background to see that at least school goes in Northwest. How do these parents who cannot buy an exercise book pay PTA levy, Mr. Babila?
And another problem concerning that PTA, the PTA fees, is that it has been raised to what can be considered as an exorbitant level in many of the government schools, up to 50,000 francs yearly.
When you say that it has been raised to what can be considered, you lighten the weight of what is operating on the field. Not only at that, you need to know that in Cameroon today, especially in the cities, children write exam, pass the common entrance, and they have to pay an official bribery and corruption sum to get into Form 1. That 50,000 you are talking is what your sources are saying, but each school has the sum that they give, which is of course terrible. And there are parents who are not able to pay school fees for 5,000 francs in primary. And then how does such a parent, then it means that, you see, we are dealing with a pretentious government that says one thing while meaning the other. You see? So we are caught between the deep blue sea
and the problem being highlighted here as far as the high sums being requested as PTA fees in some of the schools is about the fact that the government didn't put the ceiling or the highest amount that the PTA can be imposed in any of the schools, but allowed the schools to determine
free hand
corresponding to their needs.
Yes.
But that has raised the figure to a level in some of the schools that is much more exorbitant than even the fees in private schools.
For sure. It's business. It's not business. I don't want to call the name of any school here, but we know principals that during a school resumption period like this, they boldly tell you they are going to drop taxes on the street for their businesses. Where is the money coming from? You know that teachers are not well paid in Cameroon. They are going to collect the money through unorthodox means, which is
Ndigum Emmanuel, thank you so much for your time today.
It's a pleasure, even though the rain never wanted me to come, but I braved the odds.
Yeah, it's been a rainy day. It's been raining cats and ducks in the country's economic capital. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Coming up next, live from the nation's capital, Yaoundé, La Presse, se dispute.